All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Smith with Wisconsin Out of School Time Alliance, a program of Marshfield Clinic Health System. And I want to welcome you to today's webinar on navigating challenging family dynamics. This webinar is part of an ongoing whole child, whole family learning series where we aim to provide you with some strategies to help address concerns around social determinants of health for young people and families who might be participating in your program. This series is made possible in partnership with the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. And before we start, we want to remind everybody to please keep your microphones muted unless it is an open discussion time. There are going to be times identified for questions and conversation throughout our presentation today. We'd also like to note that this is being recorded and will be housed on the WASTA YouTube channel, and we will send that link out to all of you following our time together today. And then just briefly, the next webinar in the series will be taking place in February, so keep a lookout for future communications about that webinar and registration. And then we are also hosting a webinar in January in our mental health learning series. The title of that webinar is Unlocking Resilience, Tools to Help Children and Youth Cope with Anxiety and Depression, and that will be with Dr. Offenweiler. At the very end of our time together, I will launch a brief 5-question survey, and I'm hoping that you will stay on and respond to that. It gives us some insight on how to best meet your needs and provide high quality and valuable learning experiences to all of you. So with all of that aside, I am happy to welcome our presenter for today, Tiffany Kula. I'm going to let Tiffany introduce herself to all of you.
Hi, you guys. Good morning. I'm Tiffany Kula. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist. My expertise is working with families and children with a background of various settings, including after-school programming, working in the schools, day treatment, and in-home therapy as well. Throughout my whole time on my career, which has been over 2 decades, working and being an advocate for families and for children. I have done support groups and co-facilitated many various parenting groups. So my focus is really dedication to empowering families. And so that's why I'm here. So today we're talking about navigating challenging family dynamics. And it's definitely not an easy thing, right? That's why we're all here to learn more about that. So building that supportive environment for youth and navigating those challenging family dynamics, our biggest objective is really how do we bring it together? How do we bridge that together and have more information? So when we look at the puzzle of family dynamics, families are complex in general, right? And every family is unique, whether it's their challenges of what they're going through, their beliefs, or even in regards to how we communicate with styles in regards to from our end and from theirs. And then when we look at after school programming, it adds another layer of, again, that support and structure that we just have to be mindful of the family values and expectations that come with that. So I like interactive because I think we learn more from that. So the first one is, how do you feel is the biggest challenge when working with families? Jen's
All
going to
right.
help with you.
Yeah, so we're going to use a whiteboard. If you are familiar with whiteboards, there is a little icon in the corner that's a square, looks like a little post-it, and the corner is flipped up. If you select that, it'll give you a bunch of colored post-its to choose from, and you can then type on the whiteboard. So I am going to share this. In the group here. Oh goodness, now it's giving me issues. I'm going to launch it from here. Apologies. Whiteboard can sometimes be persnickety. All right, here we go. So we are in collaborating mode. Hopefully you all see this whiteboard show up. And I see all of you in there. So that's awesome. All right, so on that left-hand side, there is a toolbar that has that little square with the corner flipped up, and if you hover over it, it says sticky note. You click on that, it will give you a sticky note, and then you can drag it over and type your responses into a sticky note. And that will give us some insight on what are some of the challenges that you are all navigating currently.
I'm just gonna add them as I see them. So some are comfortable in regards to coming to events. They're shy. Families expecting staff to be able to accommodate very difficult behavior when we don't offer, I'm not able to see all the rest of that one. Jen, can you see the full one with that one sticky note? Let's see if I can drag it. Make it bigger. Oh, when we
Yeah,
don't offer
moving
one-on-one
around.
care.
So we have families going through traumas. Oh, sorry.
Families going through trauma and meeting their needs as well as working with the kids and their emotions slash behaviors. Absolutely. Parents being more active. This one.
Challenges in knowing how parents will respond to information about challenging behavior with their kiddo.
Identifying shared goals for their child and getting on the same page about how to support them. Absolutely. You see ones I miss. Kind of small.
Families feeling it's not important to share info with us because we're babysitting their kids after school.
Mhm.
So, maybe not an understanding or a value in what the program is providing.
Sure. You see different personalities up there coming through. Ours and families' expectations, definitely. Someone feel entitled and that we can't accommodate everything they want. It's hard to be everything encompassing for sure.
All right, we'll take maybe just another minute. Meeting families where they are is in the chat. Yeah, thank you. If you're having some challenges navigating the whiteboard, please use the chat as an alternative.
Both having alternative ways, toolbar, okay, of handling conflict. Then I can't read that one because it's all going up and down the
Adults having alternative ways of handling conflict than what we support in the program.
these are all
So
great that
yeah,
we're all struggling with, not giving clear expectations. So we're going to talk about all that. So you guys are right on in regards to what we're going to address today, because it's so important. And this avenue is really about for all get on the same page, listening and hearing different ways of people adapting different things for their program and what works and what sometimes doesn't work for everybody. So kind of how many
so
families.
I'm going to stop sharing, Tiffany, and then you can reshare your screen.
Perfect. I'm not tech savvy, so bear with me, you guys. Let's go back here. Start this again, right? Here. Mm, 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 mm.
If you go back to the slideshow up in the
Yep.
top, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
there are a couple more in the chat that I'll just share some families don't communicate well with each other. So within a
Hello,
family,
excuse me. My it just went off. I don't know what happened. I was on it on my laptop and it just went off.
so what are you not seeing this shared screen? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, on my laptop it just went off, but now I'm on it on my phone. So I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So, okay. So the biggest challenges that I've noticed in regards to communication gaps, families sometimes have those high expectations that you were talking about of what their child should achieve and experience during these after school programs. But sometimes those expectations don't align in regards to what the after school program realistically can provide, right? And so it is very important to have that open, consistent communication with those families to ensure that everyone's on the same page in regards to goals, the progress, and concerns. So when we have misunderstandings or lack of communications, it can lead to frustration on both sides. So that's a big challenge. Sometimes we've seen in regards to family schedules and involvement. You guys mentioned that in the sticky notes. So families that have busy schedules or the after school may have difficulties getting full participation from those families, especially when everyone's working long hours now and we have multiple children and try to make sure that we're going to all these different places is really hard. So if we can if we can limit those opportunities to staff to engage in those families, to be able to have that understanding of those unique needs, and offer those resources and support, that will be really helpful, in programming. When we look at another challenge is parenting styles, right? Sometimes they have different disciplines, learning different styles, child development. It's really important to um, find out where the family's at with that and knowing those things, and which can influence, again, what is perceived with the after school program and what they're going to offer. Staff must be able to find a way to navigate those different sensitivities and maintaining the program's policy and practices that you guys have and being able to communicate with that with the families. Also, we should be looking at cultural sensitivity as well in regards to families come from such variety backgrounds, and after school staff may encounter different ethnical norms or values. So, really being sensitive about those differences and ensuring the inclusive and respectful environment for all students, and which is so critical and very important for families to know that as well. Also, too, I know one of the things that when I was working at the after school program, some families, their expectation of the children to be highly academic engaged and involved in all activities with the after school program, we all know that kids come home. I mean, well, kids come to the after school program and they're exhausted. They've had 8 hours of being there, and so sometimes we have to remember that we need to meet them where they're at. So sometimes it's just that emotional, that social, and physical part of that support we need to be engaging in, and sometimes it's not that academic in that moment. So there's challenges for the after school staff in regards to meeting those expectations, but maintaining and receiving the care, the support, and the balance of the after school needs. So, yeah. And then when we look at those roles of the after school providers, again, it's so important to have the essential roles. It's supporting families and children. That's why we're here. We have to have that safe, consistent space for our youth and providing that structure, enrichment, and the emotional support. Those are the real crucial, like components I think are really important. And then as you guys many times know that in these programs, sometimes we are those mediators between the family and the program itself. So being able to know that you're going to be put in that place sometimes. So another interactive question is, what is one positive impact you believe that after school programs can be placed on a child and the family dynamics?
So you can unmute or put in the chat. Jill and I are monitoring the chat. Or if you're comfortable, you can just unmute and share some of your perspectives.
I think after school programs can relieve stress in families if they're worried about parents trying to get back on time. And so they can just, when they get home with their kids, they can enjoy their time with their kids versus stressing to get out of work on time.
Really, absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
In the chat, we have increasing the toolbox of regulation strategies and social emotional skills.
That's a great one too. So I feel like, this is a great question because I think when children are engaged in structured and enriching programs after school, it provides parents, caregivers, this valuable time that they can actually attend to their own individual responsibilities that they have to do. So whether it's work or household tasks or self-care for themselves, this is where they can do that. And we've had many conversations with parents that this is where take that time. It I think you did a great job in regards to saying, in regards, it does reduce that pressure and that stress for families that often are managing daily schedules, especially if they're working parents or just in life in general, what's going on. When we have the additional after school programming, it provides, parents with a peace of mind of knowing where their kids are in a safe place and they can just be like, I know that they're supervised, allowing them to be able to focus on their family life and without worrying in regards to how are we filling up the after school time, right? A parent could be working from home now because it's a whole different kind of ball of wax right now. They could be upstairs and the kids downstairs and they're like, what's Johnny doing downstairs, right? And what is he supervised on that, the computer or laptop? So really having a sense that an adult's overseeing those things. And again, I think the biggest thing, it really reduces that stress and improves that time management, which leads to that healthier and more positive family dynamics, where family members can actually engage in more meaningful things, whether it's spending quality time, which then leads to that healthier relationship and which gives you that more balance in life. I know many times we had parents that would say, thank you for being longer. We used to be open till 6 o'clock. And so parents would get done with work and they were able to go grocery shopping. I know it sounds so like little, but it's so big sometimes when you're just in the hustle and bustle of things. So, yes. So when we create this consistent space for youth, it's so important because um, they know what they expect when they come in. So our biggest thing was in regards to having that routine is so important for kids to know when they come in. They don't have to be anxious of do I go here, do I go here? They knew in regards to check in, they knew to go get snack, they knew to go to their rooms, they knew to sit down and start academics or in regards to other things. So that routine is really important to have and setting clear expectation for behaviors and encouraging accountability and responsibility if they weren't doing what they need to be doing. And again, making sure that it's a welcoming environment when you come in where a child feels valued and respected. That's a huge part as many of the kids that we work with, they would come back after they outgrown the program and they said that they felt it was a safe place and they felt like it was almost a home away from home because they felt like they were seen and they were heard. And that's another big thing. So
I can agree with that one.
yeah. So interactive activity. How would you approach a situation where a child feels disconnected from their family and shows signs of emotional distress?
I would try to talk to them. I really don't try to get like inside like kids' personal business, but I would try to see what's the problem and see how can I fix it.
Very nice. Anybody else? It's a hard situation. As a therapist, that's my job, right? That's my role. I kind of go into it. But as a person that is, an after school provider, it's kind of like where's the line, right? But I always feel like my biggest thing is when we did any kind of trainings, it was like kids can tell when people are genuine, right? They just really want to help and they just want to be there. And that speaks volumes. So you don't have to be a professional. It's really just about that caring part. So there's gonna be a few things we're gonna talk about. So first thing I would encourage in regards to it is identify specific behaviors or signs of emotional distress. So this could be in regards to seeing a child that is withdrawing, seems a little bit more irritable, has maybe trouble concentrating on things, definitely changes in behaviors. And then also in regards to decline in academic performance. Sometimes I would hear this kid say, I see you more than I see my parents sometimes. And it was true. I mean, they were there from 3 to 6 every night, 5 days a week. And so we build those relationships so we can kind of see some of these things. And it's really important to hear the verbal cues, but in the nonverbals too as well. So the verbal cues might be like, I feel alone, I feel forgotten, I feel not understood. Those things stand out, right? So those are kind of like telltale signs, red flags, right? I think you said it beautifully in regards to having them trust you, right? It's so important to have first of all, have a private conversation away from everybody else. So they know that you can do that, right? Um, and then, stay calm with the child and making sure it's a non-threatening environment so they can have that conversation.
T-
I, oh, did someone say
I was
something?
just going to share there's some additions in the chat if you
Oh,
want me to add some of the comments. I think there's some really good ones that relate to what you're talking
absolutely.
about
You
in
want to
here.
throw them out? Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the comments was sitting down and talking to the youth and discuss how we can support them. So kind of putting it, saying, what can we do to support you in what you're navigating? Sit down and talk and try and come up with a solution. This can be a touchy subject because you don't want to cross the line with families, right? So how do you maintain those boundaries where you're supporting the young person, but you don't want to create conflict with the family? Speak with the kids about their feelings and give them space to kind of work through how they're feeling. Providing an activity where the child can show the family something tangible to help build connection. At pickup, this allows the ability to encourage conversation and create some discussion between the child, the family, and the program provider. Talk to the child and listen to their feelings, help them navigate working through those emotions, and then sharing a read aloud that touches on the feelings of disconnect that could open up conversation. Some really
Really
nice suggestions.
awesome. Really good
Mhm.
ones. Absolutely. Yeah, Jen, if you can always do that afterwards, because I can't see that part. So that'd be great. Thank you for letting me know that.
Hi, hello.
Yeah.
I also was saying like offer them to help you out throughout the day, give them an assignment. That also help too to get their mind off of whatever they going through. You can help, but also like have them as your helper. You know what I'm saying? So they can feel like somebody really do care, because sometimes us parents don't have time to always be there physically for our kids. So it's just like we stepping in as providers, as the parents too. Sometimes they miss that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's brilliant. We used to kind of our buddy system. So you're our helper for the day, especially if a kid doesn't want to open up. I think it's really important to not have them be alone with those thoughts sometimes is, hey, come help me. You're such a great helper. And so eventually they open up and then they might be able to kind of tell you what's going on. I think that's a great idea.
Right. Right.
Mhm. Um, so also in regards to asking open-ended questions, like I've noticed that lately you have been upset. Would you like to talk, right? Not the yes or no questions. How are you feeling at home in school or even in the after school program, right? Because there could be stuff going on there. Again, it's very critical to have them be able to express themselves without judgment or any consequences, really. Again, we're back to that listening and validating their feelings. That's important, right? It sounds like you're feeling a little bit alone or left out. It must be feel really tough in this situation right now, right? Again, when a child feels validated, they feel seen, they feel heard, and they are more apt to share and continue to share. And they feel like,
One more thing. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no,
And sometimes me giving my kids a hug really help and change their days, because I have some of them that come in so angry and all they want is a hug. So like when I give some of my kids a hug when they having a bad day, that really make a big difference. Like they change a lot.
yeah. And some programs, some people feel comfortable touching
I
kids, some
taste
do
it, but
not,
it's good
right?
to
It
me. It
depends
may
on
not be good to you.
oh, I'm sorry.
I taste it.
How about a high five or a fist bump?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
High
Those are all
five
good
or
ideas. Mhm.
high five or a fist bump?
Perfect. Yep. And is that comfort level for the provider and at the same time for the child, right? Because we never know what the kids are going through and what they've been through. So again, that physical contact might be too much in their space, but at the same time, the fist bump or it's just again acknowledging, right? I see you, I hear you. It's so important. So I love those ideas. Good job. You guys are doing some good work. Um, the other part of in regards to when we were talking about when a child's disconnected or show signs of emotional distress is really assess the situation, right? And look at solutions. If we stay in the solution focus, it teaches them how to problem solve as well, right? So understanding where the root of the emotional distress is coming from. It could be a family issue, it could be home life, it could be struggles at school. Sometimes that emotional distress feels sometimes we feel unsupported and we feel misunderstood. Sometimes there's a lack of connection that goes on with families. So this is where you get to explore potential solutions for them. I know many times kids would come up to me and they're like, I don't know, so and so is not listening to me. I want to spend time more with mom, but she's so busy. So many times we'd actually come up with like ideas of different things. So I always tell parents and kids the best time to talk to your children typically is when you're alone and they can't go anywhere, is whether it's going to the grocery store or when they're in that car with you, right? That's the undivided attention you can give them typically, right? So using that time to like check in with them, see how things are going, and vice versa. Kids can say, "Hey, mom, I would like to talk about something." And if I just dropped off Johnny off at, elementary school, and I'm now going to the high school, I got that 10-15 minutes just to be able to have that time, right? Um, the other thing is collaborating. You guys talked about families when people would come pick up their kids, collaborating with the families in regards to what you're seeing and what you're noticing, but definitely being careful that it's not overstepping, right? Because some families, we got the read families, right? That's where we build that rapport with them so they know it's coming from a caring, loving place and not a judgmental place, right? So you can say, I've noticed that Jenny's been feeling a little disconnected lately. I want to see if there's anything that we can do to support you guys as a family or as Jenny as well. Um, I'm a firm believer. I worked a lot with the teens, and so I would ask the teens for permission in regards to talking to their parents, just so they didn't feel like I was oversharing, or I would encourage them to be with me when I would share with the parents. So then they felt like we're a teamwork, right? We're all together to help you in regards to your needs right now. So. And then to add towards that, when a child feels disconnected, is finding other additional supports, whether it's the school counselor, right, or a social worker they're working with, or a therapist that you can refer to. Again, it's just letting them know that there's so many other people out there that want to be there for them or show up for them, to be part of that. One of the other things that we did in regards to whether a kid was, showing some emotional distress or not, our program was really good at checking in with kids. Like we would check in with them and just be like, "Hey, Johnny, how was that test? Or Susie, I know you mentioned that mom was having surgery. Like, how did that go? How are you feeling?" Right? Really being engaged in regards to what's going on with them. So again, it's for them to be seen and heard and that they're important, right? They're just not a number coming. And then again, encouraging, I think, when you're able to talk to families or kids that want to connect with their families a little bit more in depth, is really having those times where I will encourage like weekly game nights, right? So maybe they just grab pizza and then they have a game night. Because academically, we were trying to take care of all that stress and taking that off the parents' plate and the kids' plate, having it done prior to that and making sure that they have that family time that is so important. Or if sometimes that they share a hobby with their parent or their caregiver, encouraging those things. Or I know sometimes it's even long walks, right? Hey, we take the little dog with us and we just kind of check in with each other, see how things are going. And then that, again, that takes some of that emotional distress for that child. So some of the things that they're needing. Questions, thoughts? Okay. So moving on. So when we talk about understanding the family needs, again, each family comes with their own set of needs and struggles. So we had to know that first and foremost. When we look at family dynamics, it's important to that we could be influenced by their internal stressors that they have, whether it's work, financial, health. Um, we had a person at the front desk and they kind of heard all the stories. And so many times the case managers or a staff would, sometimes ask them like, "Hey, we saw Susie's mom come in. She didn't look a little, stressed. What's going on?" And they would tell us everything because parents share, they want to share in regards to what's going on. Sometimes they just don't have the time sometimes to talk to individual people all the time. So making sure you're building that relationship. And then again, building that rapport and trust with the families is so essential to help with that collaboration and be successful. So how can we build better trust and understanding with families and programs? And then how can we share those best strategies engaging to be able to have them reach the families and what has worked for you guys? So this is going to be a breakout session for you guys. So I don't know how many people are here. So
We have 28. So Jill, I think, can break the rooms out for us.
okay.
And we're at 11:32. So how long?
We just went 10 minutes?
5
7?
minutes?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so Jill will put you all in breakouts and you should see that come up here. Are you all seeing a join breakout room option? Sigourney and Lindsay and Virginia?
You have it, and then it disappeared for some reason.
Okay. I don't know if there's some way to prompt that again. Oh, there we go. All right, let me.
Okay, you guys are back now. So anybody would like to share in regards to what they talked about in their breakouts?
Hi, I'll go. So I just kind of just let them know what I do with the parents, how I try to get the parents engaged. One thing I do is, like I said, I do have family night out. Like I said, September. I pay for everyone to go to Bay Beach. And then like this month right now, um well, this currently month right now, I'm doing something for the kids, but it's kind of small. But I am also, taking the parents out to eat, so we can kind of just catch up on everything because it is hard, especially like I said, I have a house daycare, a family, so I'm the only teacher, so I can't communicate with the parents how I used to communicate with them when I was a director at a center. So now, we have to, like I told them, it's like, I'll take you guys out so we can all talk to each other. Even like when we were at Bay Beach, that was a good time. Whereas the kids were just venturing off, and when it was time to eat, a couple of parents just sat down and we were just kind of talking, engaging with each other, catching up.
Nice, nice.
In the chat, Tiffany, we have one group discussed newsletters, using Class Dojo or another app to communicate consistently with families, and pictures and updates of what's happening with their kids during program time, and making sure to greet and chat with each parent when they come into program, so you're making that connection. And then there was another comment about really connecting with the kids and showing them love and care so that they know that you are there for them and another supportive adult in their lives.
Those are all great ideas. And again, what works for one program might not work for another, right? And in regards to the capabilities and accessibility, like taking them out, that's amazing. Again, the greeting is the easiest thing and it's free, right? Just, again, acknowledging newsletters, right? If you're versed, you can do that. Absolutely. I think that's awesome. We're going to talk about that in regards to families look different, right? In regards to, we talked about earlier too, emails, text messages. I know everyone's different in regards to how we communicate ourselves as, again, meeting them where they're at and what they need. So great. So when we're building that trust, so some of the things you guys said in regards to, having that consistency and clear expectations. Well, let me just go with this. So being transparent and consistent, right? Whether it is the newsletters, like I was just gonna say, and emails and phone and text messages, that consistent in communication just builds that relationship with those families so they know what's going on, they expect it, and they're ensuring that you have an understanding of what's going on too as well. Um, Again, having the multiple communication channels, again, every person's different in regards to whether it's texting or phone calls, or even personal meetings, right? By Zoom and so forth, being flexible in regards to how you gauge that bridge. Um, Sometimes getting to know families individually is very unique. I know that asking questions, interests, routines, and any concerns um, pretty frequently, so they know that you're invested too as well. Home visits. I know my manager, when they first started the program, he would talk about going to the families and doing intakes in their homes. It's like, that's amazing. Unfortunately, some programs can't do that, right? And so really getting to know the families where they're at. And so if you can do a home visit and or be part of some of their community events is another thing about getting outreach out there in regards to what your program does and how you are able to help families and kids is a huge thing. And then they just feel more relaxed when they get to know you if they've seen you in the community too as well. Creating a welcoming environment, like we talked about, again, um, when you have that space that's very welcoming and you're just greeting them when they come in, that feels so good, and very friendly as well. So sometimes some places will have like display of family photos, right? Just even family photos speaks volumes instead of being so sterile as pictures that are just like animals or other things. Um, Celebrating cultural diversity and encouraging families to share their stories is another thing, whether it's in newsletters or just, I know in our program we had funding, obviously. We had United Way. Families would share their stories to United Way in regards to how the families benefited from programs and so forth. That speaks volumes. Inviting families to participate in certain things. So attend meetings or events that are going on. So asking their input in regards to programming and what they want to be seen at the program is really crucial too. And sometimes even having them volunteer, right? I know we used to do family nights where we had a family that was really cool. They made tamales and they made their cultural food and then talked about it in regards to letting people know. And then it really helped in regards to people asking questions. And then family feeling like they weren't just a number, they were like really seen for their differences as well and welcoming too as that. Um, so yeah, so as actually celebrating those traditions and their cultures is another thing. Actively listening. It's really important because sometimes we are so busy that sometimes we're talking, but we're not really hearing. So actively listening, understanding what they're going through and without judgment is an important thing. Um, as we know, respecting people's times is really important too as well. So especially when people are facing some economic struggles, being able to maybe be more flexible in regards to times and meetings and so forth. When maybe providing like childcare. So sometimes we had some of our AmeriCorps help out in regards to watching the kids. So then the parent and the case manager were able to talk without interruptions, which then again it goes much faster, right? Compared to if you're kind of running around trying to keep wrangle everybody in and you really can't hear effectively, right? That really helps. Um, Again, another positive thing is we have to really focus on positive reinforcement, right? So in regards to when Johnny has struggled in regards to sitting down and getting right to his homework or, paying attention or listening, and he's done it for a few days, like acknowledge that with a parent, right? Talk about those positive things, bring those things up because it's not just about schoolwork, it's about personal growth too and social interaction sometimes. So those are things that we should be bringing up to parents. Nobody wants to only hear negative when they come pick up their kids, right? So it's really about hearing those positive things that they're doing. And it could be the smallest thing and it could be the biggest thing. Again, sharing those praises with the family, but at the same time, letting Johnny hear those things too, because he needs to hear it. Sometimes our families have not been focused on positive things, so they don't know how to do that. So when we demonstrate that, they learn how to do that. And then they're able maybe to kind of keep focusing on what are the things that they notice in at home, even in regards to things are going better. So they can share that too. So again, when we're talking about in regards to really helping families is really providing them with the resources and support beyond our program. So a lot of times we had people come in, whether it was from the bank or in regards to mental health or other things in regards to helping families in regards to if they are struggling financially or with housing instability or health concerns. You know, we are that bridge sometimes in that community that they feel safe at. And so maybe having people come in from the community and like maybe have a community resource even at the program so they can have those different things, whether it is through W-2, through the CCS program, right? Programs that help children, right? And, and we had Boys and Girls Club that came and actually met at our facility to help with that. So they didn't have transportation issues and so forth. And again, we talked about someone mentioned hosting some workshops and stuff like that, or informational sessions. Those are so important to bridge that connection with the family and the community as well. It could be parenting skills, managing screen time, supporting strategies to help kids who are learning at home compared to if they're at home, doing online, and then they come to your program for the academic part, but then they go back home to do some more schoolwork. So there's just a wealth of things that we can be doing to really bridge that. And I always say you have to be patient and persistent. Again, families sometimes are not trusting of the system sometimes or other people. So really about building that relationship and in regards to patience is key because the biggest thing is that if they see that you're committed and you're constantly working with them, they're going to see that over time. And genuineness does speak volumes. And again, celebrate those little wins with them. That speaks volumes too as well in regards to those little efforts mean a lot, and you'll start to see improvement in regards to that bonding of those connections with those families too. So some of the places that I've talked to or even personally have what's really worked is like they call them family ambassadors. It's really about making the family feel like they are part. So trusted people or parents feel like they can come in and give advice or share things or be part of some of the programming that's going on. Um, Inviting families to do some of the events that you are having. So then again, it's a buy-in, right? We're all buying in. Oh, I know so and so. She's over there doing that too. So I want to do that, right? Which is again, it just helps bridge that connection with the families and the kids. And then I know that we did a lot of offering childcare, which is usually the biggest holdup is for them to come to some of those educational meetings or in regards to any kind of events that are going on, providing childcare. Those things help. So when we talk about engaging hard to reach families, again, families are feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling stress, lack of time, communication barriers could be part of that too as well. So when we want to strategize on those involvements, again, we talked about the texts, we talked about being flexible in the meeting, and in regards to offering some family nights and community events to help encourage the bonding and support. Also, in regards to the big tips in regards to program staff, keep the communication clear, consistent, and compassionate. Actively listening is so important to create that safe space for dialogue and just be transparent in regards to what are the goals and expectations and the challenges that are going on. So this one I want this to be a reflective question that you maybe can bring back to staff or amongst yourselves as your team. Practice a conversation with a caregiver or parent who is concerned about their child's behavior or progress in the program. And how do you approach that situation with empathy and clarity? So, I think that's important. Any questions or thoughts so far?
There were a couple comments in the chat just from some previous
Yep.
topics that you're covering. One comment was, I like to share with parents about something good a child does every day, or at least every other day. And then there's a program who doesn't really do homework, that's not an expectation in their program space. So that's not a focus area, but they're working on some of those other activities in that space.
Every program's different. So whether it's academics or the social emotional needs of them, or just having a safe place for them to be, they're all so crucial. They're so crucial in our environment right now. So definitely. Okay. So what are some routine building practices that you can suggest to families to strengthen those connections at home? What are you guys' thoughts?
There was another comment in the chat about talking with families about using the sandwich method. Start with something good, address the issue, and then end with something positive.
Love it. That's a good one. What are some routine building practices to strengthen those connections at home? Do you have anything, Jen? Otherwise, I'll continue.
I'll say this, if you don't mind. I mean, as far as like a routine building practice, I know this is probably nothing anyone else would use, but I know that sometimes kids have their own, um, they have things they really like doing. Some kids are into drawing, certain characters, certain shows now on YouTube. I say take the time to just kind of sit down with your kids and um I will have the parents just like maybe sit down and take time with them to learn what it is they like to do. Um, just to kind of throw something out there for myself, sometimes I would just maybe once a month go to breakfast with my child and say, hey, I just want to catch up with you. What's been going on at school? How's the programs at school? What do you like and don't like? I mean, just having, suggesting maybe little bats of quality time, because I know parents are really busy. I know sometimes they don't have time to really sit down and, make that time. But just being able to say, hey, just maybe taking one little thing or say, hey, I noticed that he really likes um, drawing these things. I printed out a few pictures. Maybe you guys can take some time, something easy and fun and something where it's not hard to communicate, back and forth between both.
No, that's perfect. You're meeting the kids where they're at, and that's the biggest thing too, right? And being
Yes.
interested in their interests, right? Because sometimes we're just like, I don't want to watch SpongeBob, right? But even asking why they like that, right? They're like, oh, because I love it's humorous or it's funny, or oh, they're so silly. I don't have to think about anything else, right? So you get to understand your child. I agree 110%. And sometimes parents are just so focused on parenting, right? And trying to do everything right instead of just kind of being silly and just being present is important. I love that. Thank you.
There's an additional comment in the chat that kind of goes along with that, Tiffany. It says, in the newsletter, I include questions to ask your child so that families have a jumping off point to start those conversations about after school programs or other activities. So kind of giving them some tips or guidance so they have a starting.
It's tools, right? That's the biggest thing. And sometimes I think it feels like it comes very natural for us because we're working with kids all the time and parents have them 24/7, but sometimes it's some of those simple questions can go a long way in regards to, like, again, feeling seen and heard, and it opens up so many other things. So they feel more comfortable sharing when it's really difficult. So these easiest questions, because we want them to eventually be able to share those hard questions, right? Absolutely. Good job, you guys. So setting regular family time, I always, encourage families to do so ritual like family nights, right? Or going to the movies Tuesdays. And in Marshall, Wisconsin, they have a $5 night. So that, like, hey, it's cheap and it's something that, engaging, meeting them kids where they're at, they might love those movies where we're like, but guess what? Those are the memories that will last forever. Like mom used to go with me or dad used to go with me every Tuesday, and it just was awesome. And then on the way right home, maybe we talked about some things, right? So kind of grabbing a hold of those things. I encourage families to do family check-ins. So whether it's in the morning, checking in with them, how's everything going? Or even at nighttime, what's something that went really well today? And what's something that we're going to work on, right? Because again, it's really getting to know your kid and where they're at. So winding down and rituals are really good for bedtime. I know parents would come to us all the time, like, I can't get Johnny to go to sleep. And it's like, oh my goodness, right? So having bedtime rituals are so important. So, again, talking about, maybe we do some reading before we go to bed, or maybe we do our brushing our teeth, or we talk about, I read a story to the child, right? And then it's winding down time, not ramming up, right? Sometimes it's, again, those healthy bedtime sleep schedules are so important. It's so important as a child, even as adults, right? And so trying to get into the ritual and see what works for them. um, Incorporating that shared family chore time. I talk about, the family's like a bicycle, right? So when the seat's working, when the gears are working, when the brakes working, when the chain's working, everything works really well. So everybody has a responsibility in the family. And so how do we keep those strengthening? It's helping out with each other, right? We're all in it together. So really kind of talking about those things. And we can make chores fun, right? We can blare some music, jump around. Those things can be really fun if we talk to parents about that. Engaging in, again, active listening, right? So making sure that we're having time to physically look at somebody when we're having that conversations, not when we're cooking and mixing things where we might catch half of it, really actively listening to the child and the parent, right, back and forth. And then how was your day conversations? Those go so long. I mean, I know for me, sometimes I like to hear that when I come home, right? How was your day? It could have been a good day, a bad day. It's like at least someone asked, right? Um, Planning outings. I know we talked about, like, you guys are doing some great things in regards to getting people out, whether it's families or the kids. That those memories last a lifetime. I know we did tons of that at Youth Met. It was Kids still talk about that. We used to do a lot of things, and so Rotary Lights is a huge thing. So they'd go out to with us. We'd go have pizza, and then we go and look at the lights. And now they're doing that with their families, which is so amazing. It's just, again, it's things that some of the kids never would have had opportunities to do or thought of doing because their family didn't do it, but now they're able to expand those things. Another thing too is I've talked to parents about morning routines. It's so important because we start our mornings really well. Guess what? Most of our days typically go better. If we're hustling, bustling, and kind of running out and just rolling out of bed, probably is not going to have a good day, right? We're going to feel stressed. We're going to feel worked up. So having a good breakfast sometimes typically has that, right? Or kids are getting breakfast at school, making sure that they get there on time so they can sit down, relax, kind of start their day out morning well. Another thing too, I talk about parents and sharing with them, and that you guys can do in programming, is one positive affirmation. I know we did that a lot when we knew kids were struggling as a whole. Is so let me tell you one positive thing before you can go to activities, right? And so, like, oh, roll their eyes. But we get into the habit of that. We're really encouraging a sense of unity and like optimism, right? And for themselves, maybe at the beginning of the day, middle of the day, or at nighttime even, right? Um, Unfortunately, sometimes we have to realize we're our own cheerleaders, and so it's really important to be able to start implementing those things. Um, Another thing too is the one-on-one time with families, right? It's really important. So having them have individual time as much as they can, even if it's just 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes, right? It speaks volumes. Going to How much more time do we have? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to like look at the time.
Yeah, we're at 11:59.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
we're almost done. And there were a couple other comments in the
So just a few more things in regards to device-free time. That's a huge thing, right? Get them away from their devices and really just focus on the family and in regards to strengthening those things. And sometimes setting goals is another big thing. So yeah. Okay.
There was one comment in the chat about sending home a monthly family project for them to work on at home and then return. And then they have a display of all the projects that come back. So there's some incentive, and then that really provides some structure for the family to work together. And then there was a comment about kids going on big trips, like going to Alaska or Disney World and Legoland, a lot bigger than they used to, with some of the more close to home things that maybe some other families are more typically doing.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. So some key points again, relationship between after school providers and families is so important. It's a partnership, really looking at that. Holistically, we're looking at in regards to getting that support with the family community and maybe mental health providers. And again, ensuring that their child has consistency in the programs that you're in. This is something I want you to bring back to your group too, is how can we build stronger community partnerships to support those families and youth more effectively, right? That's the big essence, the whole holistic part. In conclusion, again, navigating the family dynamics, requiring patience, empathy, and willingness to listen and adapt. And again, the ability and support that we are providing for the youth and families. And again, fostering open communication, for those hard to reach families. I just want to thank you guys for doing amazing jobs, because this work is not easy and it can be challenging. And it sounds like you guys are on the right track and you guys are doing amazing things and for these programs and for these families in this community. So kudos to you guys. It's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Mhm.
everyone for being here. I'm going to quickly launch this poll. If you would take just 30 seconds to respond to the questions. I will be sending a follow-up email with some information, access to the recording for this session. If you have questions, we'll stay on for a few minutes and you can certainly ask those. But thank you all, and I hope that you all have an amazing and restorative weekend.